Hello, and welcome to Generon's instructional video for startup of your new modular PSA system. I'm Amanda, and whether you have a 1-bank system or a 5-bank system, this quick video will help you get familiar with the system and its operation. The first step in the process is to make sure that installation is correct. The PNID provided with your manual will illustrate Generon's recommended setup. But keep in mind that every application is different, and so the amount of pre-treatment will vary based on site conditions and requirements. The first step in the process is your air compressor. If you have a dedicated compressor that has been supplied by Generon, it has already been sized to provide the required flow rate at operating pressure. If you're using an existing compressor or are pulling from a plant or instrument air system, make sure you're supplying enough air to the PSA. Next up, we look at drying and filtration. Air quality is a critical component of PSA operation. Feed air must meet ISO 8573-1 2010 Class 141. These particle, humidity, and oil level requirements are outlined in your manual. Supplying dry, clean air to your PSA will protect the CMS and ensure performance for many years to come. To achieve this, we recommend the following: a moisture separator, a 1-micron coalescing filter, a refrigerated air dryer, and a 0.01 micron coalescing filter, and an activated carbon filter. The final components we need to look at before hitting that start button are your tanks. Out of the 4 present on the PNID, 2 are non-negotiable for PSA operation. All Generon modular PSAs require an air buffer and a nitrogen buffer. The air buffer tank buffers air demand of the PSA during pressurization cycles. It also equalizes the load on the air compressor. The nitrogen buffer tank provides a high flow rate of nitrogen while the beds start to pressurize. It also guarantees enough back pressure on the system to ensure nitrogen purity. Both of these tanks are required for PSA operation, and they should not be treated as storage vessels. If storage tanks are required, look to your PNID for a recommended placement. And speaking of sizing, each PSA unit is carefully sized based on your input in the application datasheet. Because these systems are sensitive to pressure, flow rate, and temperature, these have to be consistent when the unit is in operation. This means that in order to ensure product quality, those inlet conditions have to be met at the inlet connection of the PSA. Now that we've looked at your setup, we can get to the good stuff. Here's your modular PSA unit. Just so you get a more general idea of the layout, let's look at some of its main components. You have all connections clearly marked. Air inlet is 1-inch NPT. Then you have outbound to your nitrogen buffer, return from the nitrogen buffer, and product outlet. These are all 3/4-inch NPT connections. Refer to your PNID when plumbing all these lines. Here are the most essential components of the PSA, the banks. They're filled with a high-quality carbon molecular sieve, or CMS for short. They're also joined via a lower and an upper manifold system that connects to their respective control blocks. This is the air control block with all associated valves and instruments. This is also where you can find the muffler, which is one of the few maintenance items in your PSA. This is your nitrogen control block, which is the last stop before nitrogen exits the PSA. And this is your electrical panel. Now that you're familiar with your PSA, we're ready to start the system. This is your typical HMI home screen. It is where you can find system status indicators and buttons. It is also where you can navigate to every other available screen. Let's start our unit. Now that the system is operating, we can look at instrument readings on the system info screen. Here, you can see live status of data such as your product O2 content, inlet, bed, and buffer pressures. If you see an NA next to a reading, this means it is an optional feature and it's not equipped in your generator. These options are clearly marked as such in your PNID. Please contact the Generon Service Department if you would like to explore upgrades to your system. Another important screen shows your system settings. These include timing sequences for the general PSA process and for standby, if the option was selected. We also have the range settings screen, where we specify all instrument ranges. These are set by Generon and should not be tampered with. Next up is the trends screen. where an operator can view all available PSA pressure, temperature, flow, and O2 concentration trends. Keep in mind, some of these readings do not come standard with a base PSA model. Next, we'll look at the alarm and shutdown settings screen. This is where all alarm and shutdown functions are specified. You can navigate through all three screens with the next and back buttons, but the set points should not be modified unless impact to the system has been evaluated. Any readings that fall outside of these specified ranges will be recorded in the alarm list screen. We have provided you with troubleshooting tips for common alarms in your manual. One such alarm is high O2 content. If you want to validate your oxygen analyzer reading, you can use a calibrated gas at your span connection. You would then turn the three-way valve to span and wait until the reading steadies. This is something that should be done periodically to ensure proper nitrogen purity reading. Once done, remember to disconnect and turn your three-way valve back to sample. It is important to know that if your system has just started production, it will take some hours for your nitrogen buffer to purge out all existing air and have pure enough nitrogen to go on spec and deliver product. Now let's go through your shutdown procedure. It is as easy as pressing the stop button. This will close all of your valves and will stop nitrogen production. If your system is going to be down for an extended amount of time and you would like to preserve nitrogen purity in your buffer tank and circumvent the need for that initial purge time wait of about 2 hours, then we recommend installing isolation valves before and after your buffer. So these would be closed when the system's off, but remember to open them once the system's back online. If an uncontrolled shutdown must occur for any unusual circumstance, such as loss of power or the screen going black, then PSAs are also equipped with a physical emergency stop. This button should only be pushed in such an occasion. One last thing before we sign off. Maintenance is critical for PSA performance. Pre-treatment items such as your filters should be opened up and inspected at least quarterly to ensure that only clean, dry air is making it to your PSA. Verifying the calibration of your oxygen analyzer and inspecting your muffler elements are some of the actions that should be taken per the maintenance schedule provided in your manual. And this concludes your video. Please contact the General and Service Department at the number below for any questions or concerns regarding your PSA.